Welcome to the Voice of College Football, everyone, and the 10 most excruciating, crushing postseason losses for Ohio State football since 1980. Please like the video, share the videos out on social media, and subscribe right here to the Voice of College Football. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. Let's run down the list once again. The most excruciating losses for Ohio State in the postseason since 1980. At number 10, 1996 Citrus Bowl. Tennessee 20, Ohio State 14. The Buckeyes started the season with 11 consecutive wins and a star-studded offense with Eddie George, the Heisman Trophy winner, Orlando Pace, the most dominant player in college football, but then they ran into Tim Biaka-Batuka and lost the Big Ten championship to Michigan. They came into the Citrus Bowl against Peyton Manning in Tennessee, both as top 5 teams in a showdown of marquee teams and brands in college football. The teams went back and forth. The Buckeyes led at 7-0. They trailed at one point 14-7. It was a tie game in the fourth quarter at 14. Tennessee kicked 2 field goals to lead 20-14 in the rain in Orlando. The Buckeyes drove down the field in the final minute, but Demetrius Stanley fumbled at the Tennessee 38 to close out the game. Vols 20, Buckeyes 14. At number 9, we go to the 2014 Orange Bowl. Clemson 40, Ohio State 35. The Buckeyes started that season at 12-0. They were playing for the Big Ten championship against Michigan State in Indianapolis and led by a touchdown, but gave up 17 unanswered to the Spartans to get ousted from the BCS championship game. So they took on Clemson in the Orange Bowl, and they gave up 227 yards in receiving to Sammy Watkins, who set an Orange Bowl record. Still, they led 29-20 in the third quarter, but Philly Brown fumbled a punt, and that led to a Clemson comeback. Braxton Miller had 2 turnovers in the final 3 minutes in attempting to win the game with a fumble and an interception with $1:18 left. The Buckeyes fall to 12-2 in 2013-14. Once again, the 2014 Orange Bowl. Clemson defeats Ohio State 40-35. At number 8, we go to the 1985 Rose Bowl. The Buckeyes won the Big Ten championship, defeated Michigan, and headed to Pasadena for the first time in 5 years. They took on a USC team, and Ohio State was a favorite in this game with Keith Byers at running back, Mike Tomczak at quarterback. They outgained USC in this game 403-261. Rich Spangler hit a Rose Bowl record 52-yard field goal, and Chris Carter set a Rose Bowl receiving record at the time in 1985. However, Mike Tomczak threw 3 interceptions, and the Buckeyes fell 20-17. Our number 8 game in our list, Buckeyes lose to the Trojans in the Rose Bowl in 1985. At number 7, to the 2021 National Championship game, Alabama 52, Ohio State 24. This, of course, the COVID season. The Buckeyes entered the game at 7-0, having defeated Clemson by 3 touchdowns in the playoffs and exercising that demon. Then they took on an Alabama team with Devontae Smith and Mac Jones and Najee Harris and were blown off the field in the second half. Ohio State had a number of COVID-related personnel issues, and then on the first or second play of the game, Trey Sermon knocked out of the game. Trey Sermon, who had just turned in historic rushing efforts against Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game and again against Clemson the previous week, knocked out of the game. Wyatt Davis, one of Ohio State's future NFL players along the offensive line, knocked out in the second quarter as well. Bama defeats Ohio State 52-24. At number 6 on our list, we go to the 2016 Fiesta Bowl playoff game. Clemson 31, Ohio State nothing. The Buckeyes reached the playoffs despite not winning the Big Ten championship at 11-1 and took on Clemson. First series of the game, Garyon Conley picks off Deshaun Watson, but Tyler Durbin missed a field goal. He would miss 2 in the first quarter, of which the Buckeyes could have led the game 6-3. They would not score or have a threat of scoring again, as J.T. Barrett and Curtis Samuel were shut down by a historic Clemson defense, and the Buckeyes were blown out in Urban Meyer's only shutout loss of his career, the 2016 Fiesta Bowl. Clemson 31, Ohio State nothing. At number 5, we go to the 2008 BCS championship game in New Orleans. LSU 38, Ohio State 24. The Buckeyes won the Big Ten championship, marched on to the BCS title game as the #1 team in the country, and raced out to a 10-0 lead against LSU on Beanie Wells' 65-yard touchdown run and a field goal. But the LSU Tigers came back with a furious second quarter. They blocked a field goal. They had a strip sack. They had an interception. They also stripped Brian Robisky of a would-be touchdown reception in the end zone, and they scored 31 unanswered points en route to a 38-24 win. Our number 5 most excruciating, crushing loss in Ohio State postseason history going back to 1980, the 08 BCS championship game. And that leads us to the number 4 game on our list. 1 year earlier at the 07 BCS title game, Florida 41, Ohio State 14. The Buckeyes were rolling into this championship game, the first ever designated title game that was played outside of the bowl structure. And the Buckeyes were the consensus number 1 team in the country. They had the Heisman Trophy winner in Troy Smith. And they were a 7-point favorite against a Florida team that won the SEC title game over Arkansas. Opening kickoff, Ted Ginn brings it all the way back for a score. Buckeyes lead at 7-0. However, Ginn is knocked out of the game during the celebration, and it all went downhill from there. The Florida defensive line was dominant. Underline dominant. Capital D, capital everything. Underline it, boldface it. They held Ohio State to 82 yards of total offense and crushed the Buckeyes again, 41-14, starting the SEC National Championship streak. At number 3 on our list, the 2019 Fiesta Bowl. Clemson 23, Ohio State 19. The Buckeyes were undefeated that season, as was Clemson, and they played a tremendous game. The Buckeyes raced out to a 16-0 lead. They were dominant in the first half. They led this game by 16 with 4 minutes left. Then Shaun Wade was called for a targeting on a play in which the Buckeyes got off the field on a 3rd down and would have taken over possession of the ball, up 16-0 with just 4 minutes left in the first half. However, a couple plays later, Trevor Lawrence and the Clemson offense converts a touchdown. And later in the half, the Buckeyes have a roughing the punter penalty in which, again, the defense was off the field, and Clemson gains the first down, converts it into points, and instead of 16-0 at half, Clemson trailed just 16-14. In the third quarter, Jeffrey Okudah stripped Justin Ross of a play in which Ohio State seemingly scored to take the lead 23-21, but that play was reversed by review. And later, trailing 23-19, the Buckeyes were moving down the field in the final seconds of the game and had the ball at the Clemson 23, but the infamous miscommunication between Justin Fields and Chris Olave led to a Nolan Turner interception that closed the game. The number 3 game on our list, the 2019 Fiesta Bowl. And number 2 on our list, the 2022 Peach Bowl. Georgia 42, Ohio State 41. Buckeyes won the first 11 games of the season, lost to Michigan by 3 scores to lose the Big Ten championship hopes, but got second life as the 4th seed selection in the college football playoff. Led this game against Georgia 21-7 and 38-24. Then a number of plays and incidents went against the Buckeyes. Marvin Harrison possibly could have caught a touchdown in the back of the end zone, but he was at first ruled to have been the victim of targeting. That play and that call was reversed, which led to an Ohio State field goal in which they would have had the ball 1st and goal inside the Georgia 5. Kirby Smart barely was able to call for a timeout in which Ohio State successfully converted a fake punt at midfield, leading 38-27 with about 10 minutes left in the game. Ohio State would have held on to the ball with an 11-point lead. Instead, Georgia scored on the very first play of the next offensive possession for a 76-yard score and cut the lead to 3. And then Noah Ruggles missed a 50-yard field goal at the gun just a few minutes after he had converted from 48 yards, and Georgia pulled out the win. The number 2 game on our list, Georgia defeating Ohio State in the 2022 Peach Bowl, 42-41. That leads us to the number 1 game on our list of most excruciating, crushing losses in the history of Ohio State postseason football going back to 1980. And it, in fact, was New Year's Day of 1980, the Rose Bowl. USC 17, Ohio State 16. The Buckeyes completed an unexpected Big Ten Championship 11-0 season after going just 7-4-1 in Woody Hayes' final season of 1978. Earl Bruce and the Buckeyes were successful under the leadership on the field of Art Schlichter, and they rode into the Rose Bowl against the NFL-laden USC team and led it 16-10 late. However, USC and that offensive line and Charles White went on a 17-play, 83-yard drive, capped off by Charles White going over the top with just about a minute to play. And the USC defense closed it out with 4 plays and out against Schlichter and the Ohio State offense. The Buckeyes lose the national championship on the final drive of the game. 1980 Rose Bowl, USC 17, Ohio State 16. Leave your comments below on our 10 most excruciating, crushing losses in the history of Ohio State postseason football going back to 1980. Down below, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football.